What do you do, familiar? It's your boy Taxi Png, and we're back at it again with yet another one. Today I'm going to show you guys how I shot this cooking show.
Hey everyone, it's Journey with Treats by Journey, and I'm going to be teaching you guys today how to make candied grapes from start to finish.
So a little bit of backstory on it. It's for a creator a cooker, a curator by the name of Treats by Journey. So she creates various types of treats and, you know, sweet treats, different types of candies, different things like that. And she reached out to me to, you know, create a episode for her cooking show. And I was like, bro, I would love to tap in with this cooking channel. It would be a cool vibe. I saw the vision. She sent me a whole bunch of different various ideas that she had that she wanted to use as inspiration for her episode for herself. And I just kind of took everything that she, you know, sent me and just wrote down a plan for myself to see how exactly I wanted to plan it out and what shots I needed to get. So as I go through this little like explanation video, I'm gonna have a little bit of notes down here below that I'm gonna be kind of reading off of because I want to make sure that I didn't forget anything, so I can tell you guys exactly how I shot it start to finish. I want to talk about my different gear, the lighting setup, and the whole 9 yards. Okay, so let's get into it. So for the camera setup, let's just start there. I had a 2-camera setup. The camera right here that's in my hand was my handheld setup. This is my Sony a7R5, and as you guys may know, the Sony a7R5 can shoot up to 8K video, but today I was shooting in 4K. All right, I just wanted both of my cameras to be able to match up, so I shot on 4K on both of my cameras. And right now you guys are filming on the Sony a7S III. This was my second camera, and this camera right here has a 12 to 24 lens, which is the one that I was using, and that's why I was able to get such wide shots. This one right here has a 24 to 70 lens, and I was able to get a lot of tight shots and close ins. So I used this one primarily for detail, to just get all those different detailed shots on the food, whether she was holding something or talking about something, so that way it would bring, you know, attention to that thing. So I had the 24 to 70 lens by Sigma on my Sony a7R5 and the 12 to 24 millimeter lens f4, right? So my Sigma was a 2.8, the 12 to 24 millimeter was a f4, and that was by Sony, right? So I had that native lens on my a7S III and 24 to 70 by Sigma on my a7R5. The lighting setup, I was running the Zhiyun B200. So this is a 200 watt. It's a 200 watt bicolored light, which means that it goes, you know, super high and super low in Kelvin. So you can get it to those super warm tones, and you can also get it to a lot of super white tones to be able to kind of just, you know, get it in between and match the ambient light in your situation. So what I did was I had it as white as the light could go, so that way I can get nice and clean shots, so that way I can use them, you know, to my advantage. I didn't want anything to be too warm. I didn't want any of those vibes in there. I was already using auto white balance, so I didn't want anything to mess with the white balance, because now when you have, you know, those warmer tones, the warmer lights coming in, us videographers know, you guys can relate, I know for a fact, but I'm talking to the photographers who may not be too dabbled into the videography world yet. But shooting this was actually very simple. With that lighting setup, it helped me out a lot. And then I had a it's called a lantern. So I had a lantern softbox on there as well as a one light setup. Okay, literally just these two things. I had it kind of angled up a little bit, and I had it like at 50%, and it lit up the entire space, because the lights that were already in there, the ambient light was, we had a window and we had a glass going out to the pool, and the lights themselves had a little tinge of orange, like a little bit like this light right here, a little tinge of orange. And I didn't really like that because it was gonna start playing with my camera, and I had to sync both of my cameras together to make sure that they both had the same settings, the same coloring, and everything, right? So I guess I can kind of just go right into the settings. For my camera settings, what I used for the one that was on the tripod, the Sony a7S III, I had it at 60. Both of these cameras are gonna be the exact same settings, all right? Just want to let you guys know that. So being that this camera right here is f4, I use f4 as the aperture amongst both cameras. So I had this camera right here, the Sony a7S III at f4, Sony a7R5 at f4. I had both of them at ISO 640 as well, and then I had both of them at my shutter of 1/84. I mean, 84, 1/80, right? So 1/80. So shutter was at 80, and then 80. Shutter was 80. Half of 80 is 40. So f4. So your shutter wants to be double of what your f is. So if my f is 4.0, then 4.0, we make it feel like it's 40. Times it by 2, that's 80. Cool. That's what your shutter needs to be. Cool. And now my 640, the reason that I had 640 is because 640 is a native ISO for my Sony cameras. That's basically the ISO that doesn't give me no grain or anything like that. So I use ISO 640, and that was working perfectly for me. And all I had to do now was calibrate my lighting to be able to fit within these settings. And I just turned the lighting brightness up or down kind of as needed, so that way I didn't get too much of an overexposure in the image. I did have certain points that were a little bit too overexposed, and that was when she came super close to the lights, and the whites started to like, you know, started to like kind of blow out a little bit. And that was also because we were by a window, and that light, it's not a controlled space, so that light changes a lot. I was using the window kind of coming off to the right as my to be a little bit of cross lighting for her, and then the left side I had my light coming in, right? So my light was lighting that left side fully and completely, and a little bit of that right side because it's a dome, so it kind of wraps around, and it just gives off a lot of light. It's not like how if you were to have a regular softbox and it has the blacking around it, it concentrates that light. This lantern just spreads it out everywhere that it needs to go, right? It allows it to bounce off all the walls, the ceilings, and whatever, and just come back at the subject, right? Which is really good for me. But as the day changed, being that we had natural light also kind of being infused into this set, it changed a lot of my lighting tone. They'll be super bright at some point, super dark at some point. So what I did keep doing was going up and down on my ISO a little bit as I saw fit, especially with my one on the in my handheld. The tripod I wasn't touching at all. It was at 640 the entire time, so I just kind of had to play around with that when I got into post, when the time was editing. I did a whole editing tutorial on that as well. If you guys want to see the whole editing breakdown, the full walkthrough, I'll put the link down below. It's on Patreon. And yeah, I just went through the entire walkthrough, full step-by-step on how I edited it, and I also talked about some in-depth things on how I shot it and everything that I used to shoot it, and I just showed all of that footage as well. I'm going to be posting snippets inside of here of the video throughout, just so that way you guys can see it, so you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. And in the behind the scenes footage, you also might be wondering why I had these on. I have some headphones that I always will use. So usually I'm using in-ear headphones, but today I was using the over-the-head headphones. If you guys know what in-ears are, they literally go inside your ear and they wrap around, and they just fit the same, you know, canal of your ear. And you'll probably see drummers wear them and different people like that who are musicians. This kind of looks like a Secret Service person. They put it through their shirt, stuff like that. I used to wear those a lot when I was you know, doing personal videography for different public figures, and those were helped me a lot because it was stealth. But I just felt like today I didn't really care, and so I just wore these, and they just over the head, and it just felt really comfortable and good, and it cut everything else out. I didn't have to stick anything in my ear, and just had it over. But the main reason that I have these is because I like to gauge the audio, and to make sure that I don't have any peaking or anything like that, because it's very easy to just put, you know, your microphone on your camera and just press record, and you just never know what might happen throughout. Like, you don't know if there's a little bit of peaking happening. Yeah, you're watching it on your, you know, viewfinder and on your monitor, but that doesn't mean that just because it's not touching the reds, that does not mean you have some points that did touch the red when you didn't see it. Maybe you weren't engaging the audio the entire time, but if I have these headphones on, then nothing can, you know, get in the way of that, and nothing can catch me off guard, because I'm literally listening to everything that she's saying the exact same way that it would play back in the video once it's posted, once I'm editing and all of that. So I can catch it right when it happens. I can tell her, hey, pause, wait a minute, let me go ahead and go back into it. Hey, pause, you know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. So I know if it was said right or I didn't hear that. So I'm literally listening to it as a viewer and being able to critique as needed while I'm going. Another tip, wear headphones when editing too, you guys, because if you're going through different audio levels, it's really hard to gauge a left and a right channel if you don't have headphones on. If you don't have headphones on, you can't tell whether your right channel or your left channel are the same, or your right, or you literally can't tell what's the difference between the levels. All right, so you need to just make sure that you wear headphones when shooting different stuff like this, and make sure that you are monitoring your audio when shooting, and also make sure that you're wearing headphones when editing and monitoring your audio when editing, because sometimes people will make their music a little bit higher than the person's voice, and now that is not attractive for the viewer. The viewer will click away. All right, so yeah. For the microphones, I was using my Rode Video mics too. So these are like the little travel mics. I was using these, and I had one tucked in on the inside of her shirt. I literally just took off this little dead cat. So if you take it and you can twist it just like so, and it comes off, and I had it like that so that way it didn't look like too much bigger. It just made the profile a little bit less. This is also the same microphone that I'm using right now to record all of my talking head videos and different videos like this for you guys. But I literally had one of these on there, and I also was gauging the audio from this on there as well. And if you wanted to, you could even take this, and I could have added a little lavalier mic if I had brought one, and you could plug it in right there, and you can have this part hooked onto her belt or somewhere else and just run the whole lav up through her shirt for her to be able to hear and stuff like that. So yeah, but I use those on a lot higher production sets and things like that when needed, but this time I didn't really feel like it was needed, so I didn't take it out. Throughout, I was using a different method. I was using a sync method. So at certain points I would press record record on both of them at the same time, but even if those didn't record at the same exact time, I had my Rode audio mic, so I'm gonna try to take it off of here to be able to show you guys it. So I had this mic right here, my Rode Video Mic Pro, on top of my handheld mic, my handheld camera, to be able to get the same audio that my Rode lavaliers was getting, to be able to sync that when I was editing. So if you guys watch that tutorial, you guys will be able to see how I synced the two together, and I was just looking at the audio waveforms to be able to match them up as needed, right? So while doing that, it helped me out a lot because I would go, if you guys know how to do it or not, but I would make like a loud sound, or you can clap. That's why people have clapboards, because you can see those spikes on the audio waveform on the timeline when you're editing. So now you can match those two spikes up between the two different camera footage, and you can just go from there. And it makes the edit so much more seamless. So yeah, so what I would do is I would press record on both of them at the same time. I would clap a few times, and I would go ahead and continue recording. And I would get all the detail shots with my handheld setup, and I would get all the wide shots with this one right here. Another thing too, I also made sure to not get inside of the frame of this shot. Sometimes I did, and all I had to do was zoom in a little bit more. So I zoomed in while editing, and it just kind of helped it out a little bit. That's why it helps that this was a 12mm lens. It was so wide, it was able to get everything, and I could just scroll in while shooting in 4K and crop it as needed without losing too many pixels or too much quality. All the BTS that you guys are seeing is filmed in the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 with like the little tracking feature that it has in there, and the DJI Osmo Pocket microphone as well. And this is the creator combo that I'm using, of course. And then I also was utilizing the Samsung S25 Ultra for my live setup. So if you guys watch that live video, if not, go watch it, it's still up. I had used the Samsung S25 Ultra for the live video, and I have like a whole rig for that and everything. If you guys want a video on that and this little rig that you see on top inside of the video, let me know, and I'll just do a little breakdown video on that rig and how I use that. This is also the rig that I use when I go to New York City. I'll be there next week. Yeah. So at the end of July, I'll be there. But yeah, I'm gonna be trying to do one every single month in a different place. So stay tuned for that. Join the Discord and keep updated in case I might be in your city. You never know. And I also was utilizing my favorite light stand of all time, okay? This was my first time really using this light stand for paid client work. And bro, when I tell you it was so worth the money, okay, I got it during Amazon Prime, and it had 0 reviews. So for me to be able to trust it when it had 0 reviews, I was like, bro, I got to try this out to be able to show you guys if this is actually worth the money or not. So I literally bought it. I've been using it for about 3 weeks. I mean, 3 weeks now, up until now, like at this exact time of filming the video. But it was about 2 weeks at the time I shot this, and this thing is amazing, bro. Like, I don't have to use sandbags or anything because the legs go out far enough to be able to stabilize it. It goes up super high, way taller than me and my height. And it's just like, it's compact. So I literally do love it. I've been sharing it and I've been preaching about it in the community for a while now. I'll be putting a link down below to the exact one that I used, bro. It was a fire no name brand type of it was a fire no name brand type of light stand, and it was amazing. And I love it, and I'll be using it forever. And I may just order 3. If you see a few in my studio, shit, hey, I'm guilty as charged. If you see a few in my studio, I'm guilty as charged. I also had to change the battery a few times. So on my A7S III, I had to change the battery once. And in my battery grip, I didn't have to change anything. I was using the A7R5 with the battery grip, so I didn't have to do that at that time. It took us about 2 hours and some change to shoot this from setup to breakdown. It took a lot more time than that. Also, there's a lot going on, but setup to breakdown, it took about 2 hours some change, and the entire runtime of the video was 55 minutes and 26 seconds. So that's how long it was runtime as video footage that I had from one camera. I also had a POV mount on my chest. This is from Telesin, Telesin. I'll put the link down below to them as well. I use this with my my iPhone and my MagSafe. Any MagSafe phone or MagSafe case, you're able to utilize this to get a POV of yourself. I was using the Meta glasses, but I'm not really too much of a fan of them, honestly, right now. It's a lot going on, and I feel like if a lot of people ask me, are they worth the money? Are they worth the money? I don't think so. But I also think they're worth it depending on what you're using them for. So I would say for what I try to use them for, which is, to place into my videos and stuff like that, it works sometimes, but a lot of times it doesn't because of the coloring. The coloring is the only thing that kind of pisses me off a little bit, is because it's superly LOL. It's super oversaturated, and I can't fix that. And I try to bring the saturations down when I'm editing, but it takes the quality away from the video, and I just end up not using them a lot. I only can use them now in my mind when it's super bright outside. And when it's super bright outside, that's when I'll use them, and the colors look perfect. But anything less than super bright is like not bright enough at all. And I also had the PG Tech strap on. That was what I was using with the dual rig. It was able to help me kind of like hold my camera when I needed to go walk away to the car or something. I would put it on there. Very light setup. I've been using it for some weddings now. I'm going to use it for some weddings in the future. Before I do a full detailed breakdown of it, I'm going to try to like wear it a lot more so I can give you guys a really like month-long, 2-month-long truthful review of the video, because you guys know Real Raw Unfiltered. That's my client, she's here. So as you guys know, Real Raw Unfiltered, I don't cap, I always keep it real with y'all, and that's what I want to do. So I'm gonna wait till I get enough work with that to be able to show you guys like how I really like it. But as of right now, it's great. It's made out of great fabric. It's very comfortable on my shoulders, not like my other one that I had was like complete leather and it was kind of heavy and it had clasp and stuff that would dig into my skin. But this one right here is nice, light, and it's just easy to use, easy to fold up and put in my bag, but it also carries a lot of weight, which is kind of crazy. So yeah. And that's all from me, you guys. That's how I shot this episode of this cooking show. Make sure to let me know down below what else you guys want to see. Until next time, Taxi.
Oh, there's the cookies. Be right back. I don't need it. I don't need it. I definitely don't need it.
Spikes.